Okay. And now we're going to transition just a little bit more about our partnership with PFI. PFI approached us this past spring and said that they wanted to have more energy efficiency available to their farmers. And so they put out the call to folks like Martha and said who would be interested in having one of their outbuildings, something that they are currently dedicating energy to kind of fall into this pilot project. And I think we had 5 farms total, 2 around the Des Moines area, and then 3 in northeast Iowa. And as I said, it was a variety of chicken coops to coolers to orchards to greenhouses. And it was certainly a new adventure for us. Typically, we've been all residential, and so we certainly went in there with high hopes. And I think we did have a lot of success with who we were able to meet and provide service to. It was a great learning experience for our program. But I think, you know, moving forward, we certainly learned a lot, and I think we'll have a lot of possibilities moving forward with the different types of services that we could provide to the variety of agriculture that you guys are doing. So moving on from here, I think we're gonna transition into our actual case study of our work with Martha and her chicken coop.
So this project gets to be about as basic as it comes. When I received an email that Practical Farmers of Iowa was looking for farmers who might be interested in doing some weatherization on their different farm buildings, I was pretty excited. I grew up on this farm. This farm actually was originally settled by my grandparents. They bought the place in the 1930s. We raise registered polled Hereford cattle and buffalo, and chickens are just something that we have on the side so that we have farm eggs. And in the last year or so, we've gone from about 6 chickens to about 20, and we're starting to think about selling eggs as a value add. But one of our concerns was, especially in the winter time, the fact that egg production goes way down because the chickens are really cold, in addition to the fact that it's pretty dark. This is just an end of the chicken house here, but it was built in the 1940s. So this chicken coop goes down about 40 feet, but that was when my grandma was selling eggs, you know, back in the 50s. And since then, we've only used this little end here for the chickens. You can see from the next picture here that the original pressboard ceiling was still there. And it was bowing down and it was falling apart. When you talk about all the things that you have to do on the farm, I'm working a lot on getting fencing done and working with the livestock, but this has been a project that has been on my mind since I came home to help manage the farm with my dad about 3 years ago. You can see that my dad's strategy for taking care of the pressboard was to just keep adding stuff on the top and then nailing it in. But obviously that wasn't doing much for energy efficiency. The chicken coop obviously doesn't have its own furnace or anything like that, but wanting to use a heat lamp, it still just was bleeding out a lot of heat and wasting a lot of energy. So what happened is they came in and they did the energy audit. You know, it was really just a win-win for me to, first of all, get somebody to come in and come up with some different strategies for creating a little more warmth in the chicken house. The press board was pretty obvious, but one of the other problems is this is the feed and storeroom here, and what you can't see in the picture is this is just a piece of cardboard that's covering a wire mesh window, and then in that feed room there was another window that was open that had a glass pane, but a lot of air was leaking through that. So the fun story that goes along with this experience was as they came, you know, and they're going up above and they're kind of looking around and they're trying to figure out what kinds of insulation they're going to use. They came back down and said, you know, there's a lot of stuff up there above the rafters. And they had found a little hole and had poked their head up there and had shown a flashlight and they could just see a few things. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I guess we're going to have to figure that out. Well, for liability reasons, they couldn't take down the press board because something might come crashing down on their heads. So that became a job for me and some family members. And what we did is when we pulled down all the press board, we found all of this stuff up here. And so it was kind of like a treasure hunt or maybe a time capsule of sorts. Like I said, my grandma had raised chickens in the 50s. And what we found was all of the old farm equipment that had been left up there, I don't know how long ago. But we found waterers of kerosene heaters, and we found chicken feeders. We even found a tricycle that my dad, who's 81, used when he was little. So that was kind of the fun adventure in this whole experience here. So this is part of the working process then. Once we pulled everything down, then they were able to come back in. They did a variety of measures, but the biggest thing they did is they took some foam insulation and they went around the outside edges of the chicken coop. And then they put plywood over top of that, so of course the chickens wouldn't be pecking at it. They also put insulation up above in the rafters, as well as filling in some other spots. So you have a picture here of post-weatherization. You can see now we don't have any of that Boeing press board that was around, so that was fantastic. I think one of the greatest parts about this project was just that you have all that labor to get it done. You know, I'm always running around in the summertime. We actually do tours on our farm as well. So to have 6 people come in, and I really can't tell you just how knowledgeable they were. It was really an incredible experience for me all around. In addition to doing the chicken coop, they also did the farmhouse. So, you know, as I was describing that air that circulates, they were able to come in and really find some ways for us to save some money on our energy bill as well. They even convinced my dad to get rid of the old freezer that's been down in the basement since probably my grandparents moved into the place or shortly thereafter. So we have a little before and after picture there just to give you an image. And then some of the things we did, this just gives you a list, and I'm going to turn it back over to Ashley to talk about that.
Awesome. Thanks. So as Martha said, it was a wonderful sort of process that worked out really well for the McFarland's, and it was a great opportunity for our team to tackle a new sort of challenge in a chicken coop and obviously find all of those wonderful treasures that were up above. But this is basically a summary of the work that was done, and I think it was done in around one day. I think it was one
day to do the audit, and then a second day to come in and to do the work.
Yes.
Or maybe a day and a half to do the work. So.
Something around there. So not a terrible amount of time, something that we can come in and come out. Then obviously the time that Martha and her family spent sort of cleaning out that top space was also her involvement. But as far as the steps that we went through, we were able to tear out all of the old worn insulation and get rid of that. Seal out that north and east end, and as she said, that was a 40-foot building, and because none of those other areas were really focused on being insulated, it just created that draft into that chicken coop. And so what we really focus on, whether it's residential or with the chicken coop, is creating that air barrier, creating that thermal barrier, and heating the place that you're intending to heat and trying to keep that heat there as long as we can. So that was vital. We used 2-inch foam board, just a rigid foam board that many of you can see at any of your hardware stores. We installed just basic rolled out fiberglass insulation over the top of the ceiling. Repaired any holes, again, to just increase the ability of that thermal envelope. We caulked around the windows on the south side there that you can see in the picture, and then installing a higher watt bulb so that that heat that's in the chicken coop can give off more heat, stay in there in the winter months. And then caulking around the air vents on the south and west side of the coop. So as you can see, these are pretty basic efficiency measures. We're not doing anything incredible, but as Martha said, the ability to have 5 to 6 people to come out and provide this labor for you is sometimes priceless, right? To be able to get that done in just a couple of days. And oftentimes they can be things that are on your to-do list for years. It just keeps rolling to that next to-do list and that next to-do list.
If I could interrupt,
sure.
Too, I just want to say one of the nicest things was really they knew where to look. I mean, that was one of the things that I hadn't even realized. They found some places where you didn't even realize there were leaks coming in and things like that. And also, they were also very knowledgeable about different programs that were available to help pay for those costs. As it turned out, my father is a veteran, and so all of the work that was done in the farmhouse was actually able to be paid for because he was a veteran, and there's a program out there that does that. So it's great.